And we started campaigning under the theme, It's About You. And then we came back another year and said, It is about you too. And under these themes, we were seeking, as we're seeking this year, to encourage workers to understand that this union, which is in its 85th year of existence, is an organization that was developed to promote the interests of workers, and that this union continues to promote the interests of workers. But for the union to achieve this objective, the union needs who? For the union to achieve its objective, it needs each and every single worker. This year, we are celebrating under the theme, Bet Who Bet You. And that theme was first launched on our Founders Day last year, October 4th. And it was officially mentioned at the start of this year in the union's New Year's message, where we committed to workers. Yes, we have been telling you it's about you. Yes, you have been faithful, some of you, in supporting the Barbados Workers Union over the near 85 years of its existence. And it's time, therefore, for us to impart and share in something that is a saying worldwide, but developed pretty much as a Bajanism too. Bet Who Bet You is about support. Bet Who Bet You is about acknowledgement. It's about commitment, that if some person is working for you, that you will do what? You will work for them. So when we embarked on this last year on Founders Day, we launched the BW Highway. Now the year before, we took to the streets on the West Coast and on the South Coast to promote It's About You to hotel workers. On Founders Day last year, we formalized that and we thought this can't be a one-off. This must be a consistent theme with the BWU going into communities, not only workplaces, going through communities and letting workers understand that the Workers' Day is about them and there is no success that workers will draw unless they themselves commit to being a part of it. Bet Who Bet You is about a strong sense that for each of us, the wins that we hope to achieve cannot be achieved simply by us standing back and hoping that somebody else will do it. But we have to be a part of it. I don't know that there is any of us out here today at Pool Woods that can look at anything we brought up here or that can think about anything we own at home and consider that we did it by ourselves. It is through the blood, sweat, and tears of some other person. What is a piece of clothes? What is the food we eat? What is the furniture we sit on? There is nothing that we have inherited that we can call our own that is solely ours, not even. So Bet Who Bet You is not about saying that we are the same. It is not about suggesting that we will think the same way all the time. It is not even to suggest that there won't be conflicts. But Bet Who Bet You is that cutting across our differences, we must be able to look at the face of our neighbor and see in that person ourselves. And the same thing we want for ourselves, we want for that other person. And an acknowledgement that whatever we want to achieve, we cannot walk it alone. The Barbados Workers Union is proud to be part of a global union movement that is one of the few remaining institutions that understands the importance of solidarity. And Bet Who Bet You is about our message of solidarity. Now, I spoke about the start of this year when in our New Year's message, Bet Who Bet You, one of the companies we focused on was who? KFC. Now, when we started talking about KFC, would you believe that although ours was an objective to defend the workers of KFC, some of the very workers, I mean the ones at KFC, because they know the suffering they were undergoing, but some of the very workers that this Barbados Workers Union has committed to defending over the past 84 plus years, some of the very workers turned against us. And some people felt that we were engaging in a smear campaign. Why is it that the Barbados Workers Union has so many other companies that they can speak about, but why are they picking on KFC? But I will tell you something. The workers of KFC didn't start enjoying hardship this year or last year. They were smelling it from in the 1980s. We're consequent upon a situation that had nothing to do with them. The Barbados Workers Union entered into an agreement with the company to vary some conditions temporarily. And although we had watched that company expand and expand and expand over years, we seemingly could not convince them that things had changed. But I'm sure that many of you have been following us in the news, on social media, and you, in February, would have learned about some of the victories that were achieved for workers of KFC after over 27 years of hardship that they endured. Bet who bet you sometimes will lead us into an understanding that the change we want might not be immediate, but the change is possible when workers stay true to the cause, to their cause. So what did the workers of KFC achieve? Things that we take for granted. Workers of KFC for the first time only had to start with the company and endure a 3-month probation. Almost everybody else in the world, when they go and start to work, will get 3 months. If you are in higher up positions, like management positions or so, that probation might be 6 months. But KFC workers, we told you last year, had to work 1,820 hours at about 25 to 27 hours a week to train before they started a 3-month probation. So what was the win for the Barbados Workers Union and those workers? We cut that out. They now have what normal workers could get, which is a 3-month probation, and within that 3 months, their 1 month of training. But it went further than that. During the course of our discussions and representation of the workers, the company pulled back and unilaterally varied the cashier rate. On the bet who bet you and standing with the KFC workers, we were able to reinstitute that rate. Under the agreement with KFC that came after months of talks and disputes, we were able to have all the workers of KFC who completed probation to be permanent. Now for you, you may say General Secretary, but I never understood that even when I heard it back in February. That it made no sense. Well, once everybody else clear probation, this be put on staff. But the workers of KFC did not have this privilege because the company had committed to only making its 51 people permanent. But through the recent wins, as we promoted, workers of KFC, once they completed probation, they got permanent status. Now, there are people, as I said, representing people is not easy. And I happen to be a sucker for punishment, apparently, because I get it coming from 2 different directions. There is nothing that you can do for people that will ever be enough. Today they will say thank you, and tomorrow they will forget what you did the day before, and they will curse you for it, And I mean sometimes curse you for it. Bet who bet you is a passion. And I say to staff when they come on board the Barbados Workers Union, this ain't normal work you're doing. And almost every day of the year, 367 days of the year, you're going to get cursed. And we have to brace ourselves for it. And that's not a slip. It means every day plus one, plus some, you're going to get cursed. But we commit to what we are doing because we understand the mission. And even when people don't get it, we do it. Now, there were some across the airwaves cursing us. But there was one woman, and she will never understand. I don't listen to the calling programs. I got staff that has suffered that. But when they told me that there was one woman today, GS, who actually spoke up for the union and asked the question, people that say the union don't do anything for you, but I wonder when is a good time for the union to do anything. Because if they don't do, you quarrel. And when they do, you quarrel. And it was that kind of pragmatism, as simple as it was, as fundamental, that gives us strength to go on. And gave me personally. And then there are the moderators. You know, they got some moderators that like they want to make a name of themselves off of the Barbados Workers Union. And I don't take offense to it. Actually, they will never know how much, because there's only one or two of them. They will never know how much they actually encourage us. You ever see anybody going shaking a tree looking for fruit if they realize they're empty? So if they're pulling at us, or if they're shaking the tree called the BWU, it has to be because they understand that it is something of substance that they expect for it. So they don't bother with the rest, because all you get is the leaves like what I put in the drink earlier today. But I win, right? So there are some who every single day, and they don't understand that when we don't respond to them, it is that we are not giving them prominence. We're simply not doing that, but we accept that they understand the value of an institution that has been in this for the past 84 years. But back to KFC. Even as we celebrated in February those wins that were circulating across social media, the Executive Council and the staff of the Barbados Workers Union understood something. We understood that you can take the pig out of a sty, but you can't take the sty out of the pig. All right, see, so Roy looking at me, and I'm imagining that he's saying more, come on, you can do better than that. That is crass. So maybe I should say a leper can't change his spots. So even as we negotiated, and even as we were signing on the dotted line, we expected KFC to undermine the agreement. And less than 4 weeks after we had those wins, the first thing KFC did was pull away the monthly meal allowance from the workers. I see some KFC workers up front. A monthly meal allowance would allow them to buy a thrift box or a bucket or a barrel for 50% of the cost. KFC pulled on that. We didn't keep any noise about it because although it is in the collective agreement, and although therefore it represented a breach, we determined that until the Ministry of Labor, through its health and safety arm, could convince us that the conditions at KFC were safe for us to eat from anyway, that we were not going to make noise over food. But then they did not stop there. KFC, how many workers get 6 uncertified days paid on their job? Most workers here in Pool Woods, I am sure, if I could see your hands, will indicate. But KFC pulled that provision too. In the collective agreement, it says that workers are entitled to 6 days pay uncertified leave. KFC pulled on that. That is when we decided we can't end about looking licorice over food. No. It is serious because these are fundamental provisions. So on the 7th of April, The Barbados Workers Union wrote to the company indicating that it was in breach and asking it to correct the breach, and it was copied to the Labor Department. And here enters the problem that I have, or the broader set of problems that we find. It still remains unresolved. The Barbados Workers Union has no right in a situation where there is clear violation of a collective agreement having to run down the Labor Department or a company or sit around in meetings waiting for something to be resolved. And this is not an indictment on the Labor Department. I'm actually trying to help. And I understand that the Prime Minister is around here, and I'm helping the Minister of Labor. Because apparently when he goes to estimates, he has a difficulty convincing. I'm not in that process with them. I'm a backbencher. But the Labor Department needs to be effectively resourced. Because if we go around the place making law after law after law, and there is no enforcement of the laws we make, nobody is the better for it. And so today, it raises the broad concern of the Barbados Workers Union that we are doing good, making good laws, but where we are failing workers in the lack of enforcement. And it is only where the resources of those agencies are strengthened to support legislation that enforcement will follow. But it raises a broader problem for us. This company is clearly comfortable taking from people what is not theirs. Some people, somebody in front saying stealing, but that's not my language. They are comfortable taking from people what is not theirs. And it is not only KFC workers, it is the public of Barbados. Because when they started behaving so rude, we embarked on some searches with corporate affairs. And we embarked on some searches with the registry down at the court. And I'm going to share some things with you that we found. One of the things that we found is that I want poolers to hear me good, because a lot of winners be whining around the buildings of this company and drive-thrus and all kind of things. But this company is indebted to the public of Barbados for more than $30 million. And that is what our searches found. Not paying the national insurance, the social security fund under threat, but still we have a company like them that clearly comfortable enough in their capacity to not pay and not have to worry about it, so they can have before the court at least 11 judgments worth over $30 million, and not one KFC has sought to honor. The wider issue it raised in that is that you will think if a company owes so much money and they can't pay, it means they're bankrupt. But there is no evidence. There is no evidence in any registry that the company has filed for bankruptcy. What does this mean? It's worthlessness. But they know that they can get off with it. Because when you search deeper for this company, you will see different names. You'll see Kentucky Fried Chicken Barbados. You will see KFC Barbados. You will see something called Fabricare. You will see St. George Poultry Farms. You will see La Marie Food Group. You will see IRS something. In other words, in Barbados, this company has been allowed to hide behind the corporate veil by registering company after company after company under the same directors and under the same bad management. Now, I get accused of wearing two hats. And I don't have a problem with that, because my head big enough. But let me say to the people of Barbados, and let me say to companies like KFC Barbados and Kentucky Fried Chicken Barbados and La Marie and Fabricare and Sunset or Sunrise or whatever else they call themselves, that where it is brought to our attention, the government of Barbados that I am a part of cannot say that it does not know, because they will make it aware. And where it is that the Social Security Fund of Barbados is compromised because of companies like these, the Barbados Workers Union will not rest until we do something about it. And that's the only reason I'm raising it. Because KFC has offended the workers of KFC and offended the Executive Council of the Barbados Workers Union. And I understand that there are at least about 24 other companies like that. And once it is raised to our attention, we are going to pursue it. We are going to bet on the workers of Barbados, because that kind of unfairness can't stir. So that's KFC. But I'm not here to preach on them. I just want you to understand that bet who bet you also requires you as consumers not to support businesses that are not supporting working people of Barbados. Because it's not only the workers of KFC. If they owe NIS, who do they owe? The people of Barbados. Because what we pay to NIS means our pensions. It means our maternity leave. No paternity leave that we can congratulate the government of Barbados for. It means unemployment benefit. And if we don't have people paying their due into these funds, then it undermines all of us. But today is the Workers' Day, and I thought that I should like to end on a positive note, where we are not only lamenting the unscrupulous people, and by the way, I believe in amnesties, because I understand that there are some businesses that will go through hardship. And if you go through hardship, it's always a good time to provide you with an opportunity to get back on track. But I don't like amnesties for companies that are intentional and deliberate in their exploitation. So that's another thing that we must look at. Now, I said I wanted to leave on a positive note. And so I will focus on a number of wins that the Barbados Workers Union has achieved. And this is not only as it relates to KFC, but it's as it relates to other workers across Barbados. To the workers of BICO, to the workers who walked off the job protesting stagnant wages and poor working conditions just about 9 months ago, and who now are enjoying better conditions, we salute you. I see my staff is gathering, because this effort is not about Toni Moore. It is not only about the Executive Council, but we are a team, Executive Council and staff. To the hotel workers who stood firm during very, very protracted negotiations, and who were part of negotiations held up for one of the things being, the conditions being a meal allowance, which was long in place for over 60 years, but which the hoteliers started to undermine. For the hotel workers who stood up in defense of that and other conditions, we salute you. We also salute the government of Barbados for seeing it fit, as presented in the budgetary proposals earlier this year, that hotel workers have non-tax $150 a week on meal allowances. To pre-Concord workers who recently stood up in defense of one of their own workers who they saw and who they knew was being unfair, we salute you. During the course of that action too, what you achieved was some improvements to the health and safety conditions. To all divisions of the Barbados Workers Union, who for over 25 years allowed us to do it in the way we know how to do it. And that is to incrementally introduce into collective agreements provisions for paternity leave. We salute you because of your effort. The government of Barbados has seen it fit to also institute into legislation paternity leave, as we heard earlier. To the conference, the annual conference of the Barbados Workers Union, which is the highest decision-making body of the BWU, and the Executive Council, I want to salute you for taking the bold decision back in 2020 for supporting the General Secretary of the Barbados Workers Union to be your voice and to be your advocate in a seat of decision-making, policy-making in the government of Barbados. These people here are not all bees. Understand that. But it matters not. They're not bees in the political sense, but they are bees because first and foremost, their commitment is to the Barbados Workers Union and their commitment is to the cause. And I salute each and every one of them, particularly those who are not bees in the political sense. Now you heard from the Minister of Labor that the minimum wage will go up to $10.50, please God, and our effective 1st June. You clap for that, but Minister, I must admit, is a little bittersweet for me because it took 4 years for the revision. And if we are to move a minimum wage to a living wage, then we cannot wait so long for adjustments. So we expect that it will not take another 4 years for us to add on $2, because back in 2021, when we had the introduction of the first minimum wage, the living wage was estimated to be $12.15 per hour. And we know how cost of living has moved things from there. So it means, therefore, that while we can't jump too far to compromise companies, it has to be a deliberate effort for us to address these issues. To the workers of CBC who went through torment for over 6 years, hearing about restructuring and different styles of restructuring, we salute you for betting on the Barbados Workers Union and for the confidence that you demonstrated that whatever the outcome, whenever all was said and done, that the best for CBC workers will be done. And I'm told that you got your money, and I congratulate you for that. Those of you who decided that you didn't want to be part of a modern or new CBC. And then I just want to say these things, because when people said, no mind Toni Moore, nothing different ain't happening, y'all have to be able as workers and their families to celebrate and observe that those people are being disingenuous at best. You like that word, Minister? Disingenuous at best, because you only have to look from the things that I'm saying, and I'm not going to give an exhaustive list, but again in the budget this year, the provision, the trade union non-tax allowance moved from $240 to $360. If I were one to blow my own trumpet, I would sing like young brother. Take it easy. I will do the work. Let others keep noise. The Barbados Workers Union will do the work. We have been doing the work. We will continue to do the work. Before I leave, I want to salute our partners. There are many of us who like to see change, but we don't like that conflict with whom we have had conflicts, but who wants the conflict is past, understood that the mission of the Barbados Workers Union is to improve the lives of working people and their families. And even though they may not always see eye to eye with us, that it is a commitment that they too have to make to walk with us and journey with us as we seek to achieve the change that we want to see for our society. So to our partners, we thank you. I know that the MC will recognize a number of them later, and I'm not going to get myself in trouble by trying to ad-lib their names and miss one or two, because then they can have my throat. But equally, I want to say thank you because there are some partners that we have here today, Shane, who have not even had a direct relationship with the Barbados Workers Union. But when partnership letters went out, they said, yes, we want to bet with the Barbados Workers Union because we understand in the Barbados Workers Union and we see in the Barbados Workers Union an organization that fights for the people of Barbados. And to those partners, we say thank you. Again, I cannot end without saying a big shout out to the St. John team. Today is May 1st and it's not only special to us, but you had your baton handover last night, taken over from St. Joseph and regathering, and we shout you out. I must say that this venue is special to me for a lot of reasons, but most of all, because I am a St. John girl. And the Member of Parliament for this area saw to it that he can get my vote in the next election because he allowed me to win, to beat him in the mixology competition. So I thank him for allowing me to do that, and I thank his assistant as well for determining that she could seal that vote by also letting me beat her. So to the regathering team, at the local level and at the national level, we salute you for the work you're doing. Today, in closing, I urge all of you to continue to bet on the Barbados Workers Union because we are continuing to work for you. Bet who bet you, support who support you. Solidarity forever. God bless you.